If you don't know what GMOs are, I've got you covered. GMO stands for genetically modified organism. They were created back in the 90s to create a lot of crops and hopefully feed the world, but I don't think it's smart to feed people a lot of chemically covered foods. I think you're trying to solve the world population problem in the wrong way. So there's two main types of GMO foods. The most common is that foods are genetically altered to withstand high doses of pesticides so that the foods survive the pesticides and the insects don't eat them. And it usually is pesticides like glyphosate or Roundup. The second type of GMO food is basically corn. It's genetically altered to produce a toxin or insecticide in itself called Bt toxin. And when the insects eat it, they die from destroying their stomachs and intestines, but unfortunately it's damaging to our bodies too. And corn is everywhere. GMO corn is the majority of corn in the United States. Think high fructose corn syrup is in everything. I live in Texas. Corn tortillas and corn chips are everywhere. Gluten-free foods are high in corn, cornstarch, you name it. Also, conventional farmers tend to feed their animals GMO corn and GMO alfalfa, so the pesticides get in the animals and then we eat it as meat. And that's why grass-fed meat is so important. We're also concerned that this genetically altered DNA could insert itself in our own DNA and then we produce Bt toxin in our own body. There's a study that shows that at least 80 to 90% of pregnant women and babies do contain Bt toxin in their blood. So the most commonly made and produced GMO foods in this country are canola and corn, soy, sugar beets, basically sugar, squash like zucchinis, summer yellow squash, papayas, alfalfa, and then more recently white potatoes and apples. Back in 2015, GMO salmon was approved, but luckily it had some labeling and overall acceptance issues. For example, Costco refuses to sell GMO salmon. I love Costco. When it comes to apples, it's best to choose organic. You have to be wary of GMO apples, especially in Golden Delicious varieties, Gala, Granny Smith, and Fuji. Also beware of pre-sliced apples because they're almost always GMO. They were created that way to avoid browning, as if Americans are too lazy to slice their own apples. And if you see the word Arctic, that's definitely a GMO apple. So avoiding GMOs helps avoid some serious health issues because when we eat GMO foods, we're getting exposed to a lot of chemicals and pesticides, especially glyphosate and Roundup. And it's been highly studied to cause a lot of health issues, and it's a bit scary. So stay tuned. Grab some popcorn because it's a bit of a scary movie, and I'll talk more about the effects of glyphosate and GMOs. And remember that popcorn is always non-GMO. Research shows that clicking the thumbs up and subscribe button will make fingers healthy and strong, and besides, it's free.